Okay, team. So let's review. We've imported, right? We've hit the file import, and we brought things into our project, right? This is our project window. And we have our program window, what is reflecting what is our sequence, right? Some people call this the timeline. So there's that edit, right? Another thing I wanted to show you is if you double click here, the source window comes up. If you mark an in point with the letter I and an out point with the letter O, which will become very handy with video editing, you can then sort of click on this, not right click, but just sort of left click on this and drag it down into your timeline. Okay, I'm gonna undo that. The other thing you could do is you can hit the comma button. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger, make the out point a little bit larger over here. I'm gonna hit the comma button, and that's gonna bring it in wherever this playhead is, okay? If I hit the comma button, it's gonna come in where the playhead begins, so I could bring it in a bunch of times by hitting the comma. Also bring it in by hitting the period button. Now, the difference here is, if the playhead is here at this cut here, and I hit the comma button, it pushes this part of the timeline forward, okay? Which is useful. That's called an insert. It's inserting it in, right? But the other thing, if I hit the period, it's going to overwrite it. So if you watch it right here, watch what's going to happen right here. If I take this clip and hit the period button, it's going to overwrite what was there. So you got to be really careful with that, because you can really mess up your edit. What I want to talk about today is sound. So you have some options. You can bring in music. You got to have some music for your project. Bring in some music. You could also bring in some voiceover. Okay, you could record some voiceover on your phone, or with a microphone, or with a recorder I could give you, and you could bring that in. And how that would work is, again, if you brought it in, depending on how you bring it in, you can email it to yourself and somehow get it into your folder. You've got to get it into that still folder you have back on the desktop, right? Let me get rid of this guy. So back on my desktop, here is my MD Still project. Okay, I don't really have any. I'm going to bring in some music from this other folder. Imagine I got this from the internet. I downloaded it, or I brought it in on a thumb drive, or somehow emailed it to myself. So I brought in a song. Good. And I'm also going to bring in, I know I happen to have over here, I have some podcast stuff. So I'm going to bring in an MP4 from a recording and put that there. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to my Premiere Pro project here, and I'm going to go import both of those things. So I'm going to go to import, and I'm going to find them. It's under MD Still project. I know it's this Yakuza, and if I hold down the command button, I can then go to exactly the other file I want to get, and I'm going to import them. Those files will take a second, and boom, there they are. 2 audio files that I can add to my awesome edit. So a reminder of my brilliant edit. Boom, 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 boom. So good, so good. So I'm going to say, I don't know, I'm going to try this music. So I'm going to bring this music in. And one thing I want to show you guys, if you hover over this and you roll it, you can make it bigger, right? And you can start to see the image. And I can do the same with the audio track, right? So I can start to see, and with the audio track, this is called a waveform, right? And you can really start to see how the waveform works. I'm gonna actually get rid of this source window so I get a little more space here. Sorry, the mouse is so long. So I can see how this looks. That's kind of horrible music, but okay, so I don't like that music, so I'm gonna delete it. I did bring in another piece of music earlier, which I like more. So I'm gonna bring this in and put this down here. And this is gonna be my music. Okay, cool. I like it. So here I go, ooh, I like the way that ends. So I'm going to hit the C button. I'm going to cut that music right there. And I hit the V button to get back to the select tool. And I'm going to delete that because I'm like, this is awesome. Now, to play with the levels, here's the volume, right? I pick it up in the middle and move it around. Now, I really want to play with this a little bit. So I'm going to hit the letter P, and that's going to allow me to use this pin tool, which will allow me to adjust the levels, okay? So I want it to start lower, and I want it to go high, and then I'm gonna come back high and low. I just wanna play with, I'm gonna play around with this music, and then it's gonna fade out. Okay, so that's just, and then I go back to the V, and I'm gonna play it, see how it sounds. Kind of weird. I kind of like it though. I kind of like it. Now, this is key. Over here, you can see this meter. You never want your stuff, you never want your music to rise up into the level, which I'll show you here. Well, this doesn't get too loud, but you never want it to really be going above -12 or -6. That'll be very important later. Okay, so I kind of like that. I'm like, ooh, that's kind of cool. So I'm going to put this down a little bit, and I'm going to bring in another sound, which is this this talking. Some people talking. I think it's Mr. Rockland. I'm going to open that up a little bit. Number 2, and this is going to be weird, but I don't care because I'm going to make a weird film, and I'm going to see what's going on. I'm going to mute this. I'm going to hit M, so that's muted, and then we'll just hear what people are saying. Can't hear them, so I'm going to put this up a little higher.
During his lifetime to be the golden boy of theater, because he was not only extremely handsome, but he was also extremely wealthy.
I'm going to end it on extremely wealthy. Extremely wealthy, just like me. So I'm going to back that up a little. I'm going to cut off that just a little bit using this tool, pushing it back a little bit to there. Okay, now I'm going to have to bring all of this music down a little bit because I think it's too loud because of his, I don't want to ruin his beautiful voice. So I'm going to bring this stuff down. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. This is going to be amazing.
Sophocles, by the way, was...
Okay, I need a little more volume.
Considered during his lifetime.
Oh, I got unmuted. My bad. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Sophocles, by the way, was considered during his lifetime to be the golden boy of theater, because he was not only extremely handsome, but he was also extremely wealthy. Sophocles, by the way, was considered during his lifetime to be the golden boy of theater, because he was not only extremely handsome, but he was also extremely wealthy.
Okay, obviously this is sort of ridiculous in that it doesn't make a lot of sense, the picture, the sound, the music. Yours will make a lot more sense, but I wanted to show you how this can all work together, okay? So you import it, you can manipulate, obviously you can cut it in exactly the same way you cut the picture, and then you can manipulate it, either the volume that goes all the way across, right? Look at that down below the picture, or you can hit the letter P and you can begin to make these different adjustments, right? And you can open this up so you can really see it and get your adjustments to exactly where you want them. Okay, so that's our little lesson here. This is importing sound, beginning to sound edit. The next thing we'll look at is exporting this when you're done. Okay, excellent.